Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we take a look at headlines, news items that are going on in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico, and we combine that with all our questions, comments, ideas, and suggestions about how to live an awesome life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English speaking locals. We may speak English, but we're still locals. And I say that because the word locals will take an interesting uh, direction during today's discussion. And this will become clear later on today. Today is Saturday, May 15. And as always, we're going to have some interesting news. We're also going to have some thought-provoking, hopefully thought-provoking, musings about education in Mexico, today being the Teachers' Day here in the country, in Mexico. And while we get ready to embark in that section of the program, I would like you to consider what is the most offensive, most discriminatory, most racist term in Spanish that you can think of. I'm going to invite you to think about what that word may be. You can share it in your comments or not. You can just think about it, and we'll come back to that later on in the broadcast. How about that? In the meantime, I would like to, as always, invite you to share your comments and let us know if you are new, and you can do that by writing the word new at the beginning of your comment. And if there's something that is truly important that you wish to bring on, I encourage you to add the letter Q at the beginning of your comment, and we'll take a look at all that information in the second half of the program. But first, let us take a quick look at the latest news. Governor Alfaro took to his Facebook page to announce the arrival of 77,220 doses of the Pfizer vaccine for the 50 to 59 age group. This is what he had to say. Just a few hours ago, this was published 12 hours ago. Just a few hours ago, Jalisco received 77,220 doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 that, according to the National Vaccination Plan, will be destined for people 50 to 59. And as soon as we have details as to which municipalities this will go to, we will let you know through the official channels. In addition, next week we will have a new campaign, vaccination campaign for medical personnel that includes nurses, nutritionists, psychologists, odontologists, dentists, and so forth and so on, of the public and private sector that have a federal license to practice. And he provides a website in which you can find out more about this particular program. And this, of course, was reflected by local news. This is one of the websites that that reflected it. And of course, if you want to know where you can register yourself, if you're a nurse or if you're a doctor of any kind, there is a website included here so that you can pre register if you are a doctor, a dentist, a psychologist, and so forth. Now, you may be wondering why it is that vaccination for the age group of 50 to 59 has not started in Puerto Vallarta. Well, according to this other article, it is because of the lack of basic supplies such as syringes and needles. But again, we expect to learn more in the next few days as to where vaccination for the age group will begin, along with that of pregnant women, which has started elsewhere in the country, but not yet in the state of Jalisco. In other news, we've mentioned several times how the increase in violence throughout the country is tied to the present electoral period, but just how deadly has it been in this particular period? Well, according to a consulting company called Elect Consultores, between September 2020 and May 2021, there have been 32 murders of political candidates throughout the country, including the murder of Abel Murrieta 2 days ago. Murrieta, who represented the Movimiento Ciudadano, was in the middle of a campaign rally at the municipality of Cajeme in the state of Sonora when he was shot, literally while he was campaigning. And while the government is quick to point at organized crime, as in the narco, according to this report, it also happens that candidates are frequently murdered by their own political opponents. But of course, the government has not been very transparent to that effect. All of the above makes the current electoral period the second most violent since the year 2000, keeping in mind that just 3 years ago, in 2018, there were 140 political candidates in 100 municipalities that were murdered. And then you wonder why I don't care much about politics, but it is what it is. As I mentioned to you, today is Teachers' Day in Mexico, and I'd like to take the opportunity to share some random thoughts about education in our country based on some headlines that I read in the past couple of days and some research that I did to back them up. And of course, given all the four-letter words in Spanish that we've shared here at Coffee and Headlines, I thought I would share the most seemingly innocent and yet the most horribly discriminatory one in Mexico, and one that I most definitely hope to never hear coming out of your mouths in public. And I certainly hope you never have to use it. But we'll get to that in a second. Let us start with this first. I'm sorry. Even before we go there, I forgot I had this last minute news item that just spotted this morning. I wanted to let you know that due to work that is being scheduled by CEPAL, there may be some water shortages today between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. in Emiliano Zapata, 5 de Diciembre, Amapas, El Centro, and El Cerro. So if you live in any of these neighborhoods and you are not having good water flow, it was scheduled to be that way, and hopefully by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, everything will be back to where it's supposed to be. And now we continue with education, as I mentioned. First, I want to show you this this headline. Information from Mexico's INEGI, or Census Bureau, indicates that 1 of 4 teachers in Mexico earns 2 minimum wages per month. How much is that in actual pesos? It's 8,502 pesos. Feel free to compare that to how much you pay for rent per month here in Puerto Vallarta at your condo or apartment, or how much money you spent at Costco or La Comer this week. So it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money what teachers make. And it's not that I'm suggesting that the quality of education is definitely tied or exclusively tied to the earnings of a teacher. But when you consider that teachers don't make that much of a good wage, how can the quality of their education be all that great? And then, of course, I went digging in the Census Bureau website to find more information about education that would help us get some context here about just how well educated we are, at least as far as going to school is concerned. So I found this first chart that shows us that the percentage of the population in Mexico that attends school based on their age group. And if we look at this, 63% of the population between 3 and 5 years of age goes to school. 95% of the population continues going to school at age 6 and 11. But then people get to 12 to 14, and the figure comes down a little bit. 90% of the population, or 90.5% of the population, goes to school, but that number decreases rapidly to 45.3% of the population aged 15 to 24 goes to school. What do the rest of the population does? They have to go to work. They don't have an opportunity to be educated, to go to school, because usually young people are sent out to start working with whatever little population education they were able to receive. Here's another graph that shows the level of education amongst those 15 years of age or older. According to this, 4.9% of the population just doesn't go to school. We see that 49.3% of the population goes to elementary school. 24% of the population goes to high school, and only 21.6% of the population goes to college level education. So think about this for a second. Very frequently, we complain about people out in the streets not being educated or polite. A lot of times we complain that when people are serving us at restaurants or taking care of us at Oxxos or in the workplace, and we think, well, where are these employees' ability to implement creative thinking in their work? I'm not saying that school is the only place to learn about creative thinking or decision making, but a lot of that comes from the kind of education you receive. So a lot of times the level of or the quality of service that we expect to receive at a business, or the quality of employees that we expect to hire, just doesn't exist because people don't get enough population. And this brings me to one, let me see, what does this bring? Yeah, this brings me to one of the most offensive and most discriminatory racist term you can use in Spanish. Before we go there, let me see if you happen to type any. I didn't see any, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you this horrible word that I hope you never ever have to use in public. And that word is the word naco. Naco. I don't know if you've heard this word before. I don't know if you've used it before, but I want to talk to you about this particular word for a little while. According to the Mexican Academy of Language, naco is defined as an Indian, a vulgar person of no taste, without urbanity or civility, a person that is ignorant and clumsy, or that lacks education. It could be translated into English as a low-class person or uncultured person, and it is roughly analogous to the American redneck or hillbilly, but I think it is worse than that, actually. The term naco is generally used to describe people, behaviors, or aesthetic choices seen as unrefined or unsophisticated, but often in a comic way. I mean, we make fun of people that are naco. There are even movies that are funny, or pretend to be funny by talking about nacos, but is it a funny thing? As a person, the naco may display a general lack of refinement by adopting a gangster mentality, unrefined verbal expressions or slang, peculiar accents, lack of social manners, or comically bad taste. But is that something to make fun of? Is that something to actually call someone out in public? I actually don't think so. The word likely originated as a contraction of Totonaco, referring to the members of the Totonac people, which is sometimes used as a disparaging term for indigenous people in general. And it is also used as an elitist expression from the educated to describe the uneducated, and among the middle and upper classes as synonym of bad taste. In many situations, the word has derogatory intentions. And and we use it all the time here. I mean, here a lot of us, and I'm going to include myself in this comment, we tend to talk about Puerto Vallarta, and this is paradise, and this is our home, and we love to be locals, and but only until the Mexican locals show up. And when periods like Semana Santa arrive, a lot of people say, "Ooh, we love paradise, we love Puerto Vallarta, but it's time to go north because the locals are coming." And so we find ways to inadvertently display our own racism and our own discrimination when we refer to the locals, and I'm not saying that I am a saint, or I'm not saying that I never use these terms, but I got to thinking, when somebody is a so-called naco, or a so-called uncultured, uneducated person, unrefined person, whose fault is it? I mean, can you blame someone for being the person that person is, simply because they did not have the necessary resources to go to school or become a better person? And I'm not saying this is not something that I bring up for us to have a huge debate about this, that, and the other. But I think it is important, and I encourage you, if you choose to go there, to just think about this for a second. I mean, my general mindset around Semana Santa, for example, is, I enjoy this place all year long, and let other people come and enjoy it. Yes, sometimes I walk down the street and I see some behaviors that I'm like, ooh, I want to stay away from this. But I'm not going to be calling names on any of these people just because I can, or because I happen to have an education. So, it is what it is. In a recent article, Mexico President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador recalled when he was in Santa Fe, a very upper class neighborhood in Mexico City, and this was during his tenure as mayor for the Mexico City, and some lady driving a luxury van lowered her window and called him a naco. And this is sad, but truly revealing of the fact that Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, our president, while far from being a perfect president, has consistently chosen to favor el pueblo, or the people, in his governing style, instead of the so-called conservative or upper classes. This, of course, has ruffled many, many feathers among Mexico's privileged class. But consider this. While looking at current approval rate for government leaders in Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Mexico, and other countries, our president's approval rate is consistently high, and in many cases higher than some of these other countries. Come on, bring me back to this chart. There you go. Here we go. Here is this little chart that I'm showing you. And here is Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's approval compared to Angela Merkel in Germany. Her approval is lower. Compared to Biden in the United States, his approval is lower. Compared to the Johnson in the United Kingdom, his approval is lower than Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's. So as much, oh God, and what to say about Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro, his numbers are not pretty at all. So anyhow, I share all this information again just for us to think about education and teachers and this horrible word that I'm going to get off the screen now, so that we can, in our own time, have conversations about this and think about how we feel about education, lack of education, and what can we do to be tolerant or kind to people that may be on a different level of lifestyle, economic, financial resources, cultural, educational resources than we are. So there you have it. That was my little food for thought about education. Again, it's not meant to solve the problem. It's not meant to bring up a solution. It's not meant to bring up opinions. It's simply meant to be, it's just food for thought. Let us now dive into the weather, and then we continue with a couple of other news, and then we'll have a little bit of chit chat. How about that? In the long annals of history, no child has ever spoken the words, "When I grow up, I want to be a TV weatherman." That's what our weather man says today. Snarky weather, snarky carrot weather. Also tells us that it is 29 degrees. It feels like 33 degrees. Humidity is high at 68%. At 68%. So long, low humidity days, apparently. And of course, our weather in Fahrenheit is 84 degrees. Our weather forecast for the rest of the weekend calls for a humid day throughout the day today. High temperature of 32, low temperature of 23. Tomorrow, Sunday, we can expect a humid day with a high temperature of 32, low temperature of 22. And then on Monday, it's going to be a humid day throughout the day, high temperature of 31, low temperature of 21. To wrap up our news section for today, I want to mention a couple of events that are going on today that you may or may not want to attend. The first one is this Riviera Market that we talked about last month along the Parque Lineal in Pitillal. We mentioned this event last month, ended up not going, and then we learned a day or two afterwards that it was a hugely successful and large event. So this tianguis or outdoor market is going to take place during the day today at the Riviera Market at the Riviera Park in Pitillal. I'm going to share with you the bookmark so that you can attend if you care to. And the second one that I spotted this morning, we know very little about, but it will take place at the Food Park PV location. Apparently, this is the third edition of this other market, right across the street from the hotel zone. Regretfully, the information provided in the Facebook event is very sparse, but at the very least, there are excellent food choices at Food Park, so you can go there, and if you don't like what is being sold, then you can at least eat well. And of course, both events are within walking distance to one another if you're an ambitious walker, so you might actually be able to attend one and then the other if you like. And this wraps up our scheduled news items. Let me now very quickly take a look at all your comments and suggestions. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a sip of water. Thank you very much. I'm buzzing on 3 glasses of iced coffee already, so we're not having any more coffee for today. Lots of good mornings as always. It is great to see you today and every single day, of course. Post-surgery pain is the pits, Alan. I don't know what kind of surgery you went through, but I hope you are recovering well. Joe Willis says, sometimes I feel gringo is offensive. You know, gringo is one of those tricky words. Just like faggot is one of those tricky words, just like the N word is a tricky word. I think it all depends on how it's used, by whom, towards whom, and where and when. If a friend of mine calls me marica, and it's somebody that knows me as a gay man, I don't find offense. The other day, I received a comment offline from one of the viewers, and she ended up the comment by saying, "Thank you, girlfriend." And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not your girlfriend. I don't even know you. So why would you call me girlfriend? So again, gringo is a word that I use very carefully because I know that it is offensive to some, and I certainly try to think about the way in which I use it. Let's see what else we have. Badim bam boom, boom bim bim. Um, it seems like the government is also a cartel. Well, no comment. Teachers everywhere are underpaid, especially considering their importance. Disgraceful. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I don't know what the salaries are like comparatively in other countries, but of course, I'm showing you what I'm showing you. Is it expensive to attend high school and university, Karen? Public education in Mexico is very, very affordable, and a lot of people could choose to go to college. But again, many times, young people are tossed with the decision of, okay, do I go to school or do I provide for my family? A lack of good education means that a lot of times people become parents at an early age because they were not taught to be careful by their parents or by school, and it breaks my heart, for example, when I walk down the street and I see young couples with carrying babies, and I'm look at them, I'm like, oh my god, these kids have to be like 17 or 18. Who has a chance to go to education or to go to university, even when university is not expensive, when you have to take care of a baby that you didn't ask to have in the first place? Um, Brett brings up some comments. Gringo, if used as a pejorative. Pinche pendejo, not discriminatory, but not nice. Maricon is probably the most discriminatory term I know in Spanish. Well, maricon is bad. I think naco is even worse. Is even worse. And Santiago says never heard it. Probably thinking about the word naco. I'm glad you never heard it, but if you hear it again, I hope you never have to use it. I have heard many Mexicans use that word. Yes. Oh, yes. We love to discriminate against our lower class brethren. And I wonder if it is as okay as it used to be now that we're living in this enlightened age of politically correctness, and which can also be carried to extremes. But again, I just wanted to bring the word up so that you could get to know it and understood it. In Canada, they call us Aboriginal people as savages. I never thought of you as a savage person, Claude. Then again, I don't know what you do in bed, but that's an aside. Let's see what else. Santiago says, I don't use any words in Spanish or English that are negatively descriptive. Using people's names or calling them friend or other term of endearment is what we should be using. I tend to agree with you, Santiago, and I try to become a more aware person as I'm out and about and choose my words as carefully as I can. Um, Thank goodness I have never heard of that word. I cringe when I hear somebody say shut up or stupid. Yeah, shut up and stupid are just horrible words as well. Joey is guilty of using it. Again, I'm guilty of using it, but I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's important. Wondering about the border town of Naco in Sonora. I didn't even know that there was such a border town. Um, that's called microaggression. I saw that comment going on, Gary, earlier on in the conversation, and I think we engage in a lot of that sometimes inadvertently. Uh, let's see. I've only heard that in old movies. Yeah, I imagine, Deborah, you're referring to the word naco. There are movies there, and there's even a movement out there. There's a movement called Ser Naco es chido, which means being a naco person is cool, which is, some people that just embrace their reality and they say, we're cool. We're cool being naco. But again, it depends on who uses the word against or towards whom. Um, let's see. Let's see. Chabadabadam-pam-pa. Da, 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 da. What about the word chichifo? Um, that's a word that describes somebody that's a prostitute, a male prostitute. And again, some male prostitutes are comfortable with that, but with what they are and who they are. But you can also offend somebody by calling them a chichifo, whether they are engaged in male prostitution or not. Let's see. Sadly, human nature is to make someone else look bad if it makes oneself better. All cultures, all societies. Again, as I mentioned earlier, my bringing up that topic in conversation was not meant to provide specific solutions, and certainly not solutions that are universal for all of us. It was simply a matter of bringing up the topic just to have something to think about. That said, if you know someone in your life um, that is a teacher, today would be a good day to wish them a happy Teacher's Day, at least here in Mexico. And this, my friends, brings us to the end of Coffee and Headlines for today, Saturday, May the 15th, Teacher's Day. I hope you had a fun day enjoying our broadcast today. I hope you had enough food for thought. I hope you had enough interesting news and items to cover. Tomorrow, of course, is a day off, but we will be back here on Monday, hopefully with good news about vaccination for those of us that are in the age group 50 to 59. I am itching, not literally, but I am pretty ready to just get my shot so that I can feel more comfortable going out and about living my life here in Puerto Vallarta. Between now and the next time that I see you, I hope you have an awesome day. I hope you have an awesome time. And I hope to see you Monday. And if not Monday, I hope to see you sometime in the very near future. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.